We're going to keep it moving. We're going to talk about, we talked about Kyrie Irving returning yesterday. We're going to talk about another player making his way back to the court this weekend. He's anticipated a Sunday return against the Indiana Pacers. It's none other than Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors. Now, it feels like we haven't seen Klay play basketball in forever. And that is correct, because this is going to blow your mind. The last time we saw Klay Thompson on the basketball court, Anthony Davis played for the Pelicans.
Wow.
Jimmy Butler played for the 76ers. Kawhi Leonard was winning a championship with the Toronto Raptors, and Russell Westbrook, well, no one was complaining about his turnovers. They were celebrating his triple doubles because he was still with the OKC Thunder. So Klay Thompson has been out for not 1 but 2 years. He's had not 1 but 2 injuries. He had the ACL, and then he had the meniscus, if I'm not mistaken.
ACL. And
was it not meniscus?
Achilles.
Oh, Achilles. Even worse.
Achilles.
Even worse. He's had 2 very serious injuries that regular human beings would not bounce back from. But we're going to see if Klay can. We've heard great things from his teammates and his coaches about him getting back to speed. He went and spent some time in the G League. Unlike Kyrie Irving, so I'm not expecting him to come in and drop 22 points like Kyrie, because Kyrie wasn't injured. Well, he was injured a little bit, but he didn't have that serious of an injury. He was just chilling, not playing, because he was sitting out the games. Whereas Klay Thompson has only been cleared to return this weekend. So, BJ, what are you expecting from the great Klay Thompson?
Well, Mo, what I'm expecting is the following. We're calling this Klay's comeback. And within this 2-year window, there has to have been some very dark days. Klay is a hooper.
Pure.
He's a baller.
Pure.
And when you talk about someone who loves the game, make no doubt about it, Klay is the consummate professional. And to sustain an injury like he did, an ACL tear, then on his comeback, basically 9 months or 11 months later, he sustains another significant injury with his Achilles. That's tough. What am I expecting? Mo, I can't imagine doing something that you love to do. And all of our listeners, imagine doing what you love to do every day. And then suddenly, in an instant, in a moment's time, it's taken away.
Been there.
Not something you like to do, not something you just do casually, something you love to do. Like this is, and it's taken away. So what I'm expecting, I'm just expecting him to have a lot of butterflies. I'm expecting him to be very nervous. I'm expecting the team to be nervous, but more importantly, for him to be around a group of guys in the locker room and back in the arena, back to playing, back to competing. To me, that's a win.
Yes.
So I'm not expecting him to be Klay of old, but I'm just going to be happy to see him out there on the court, because the game, this league, we miss him.
Facts.
Klay has been a part of some of the most incredible moments in the history of the NBA. His shooting and what he's done, the Splash Brothers, will forever go down as perhaps the best shooting backcourt in the history of the NBA. Mm-hmm. Certainly they will be talked about up there with one of the best, if they're not the best.
Yes.
So I'm happy he's back. The fans, we are all happy he's back. And I wish I could be there to clap, because this has to have been one of the most difficult returns ever, especially for someone like Klay, who I know a little bit. And I'm just happy to see that he was able to stick through, because this is a very, very tough return. And I'm sure all of the people up there in the Bay Area are rooting, along with the NBA community is rooting for him.
Yes, sir. Klay's good vibes. Everyone knows this. Now, when Klay comes back, the one good thing about him coming back at this stage is there's no pressure on him, as the Warriors already have the second best record in the NBA. So there isn't the pressure on him to carry the team. He can get back into his rhythm. He can get back into space. Because I think that word there, the rhythm, is so key, especially for a shooter like Klay. Now, what I'm looking for is how much does he trust the movement in his legs? Now, anyone who's suffered a significant injury, psychologically, it affects you. If I come and play pickup with you, you will never, ever see me try to dunk the basketball again. Why? Because the last few times I've landed on my ankle or my knee and they've snapped. So now I just don't do it. Okay? Klay, if you're listening and you heard what BJ said about having something you love being taken away from you, well, if you do get another injury, come and join the podcast because you can set up for a career in the media just like I did. But aside from that, let's look at Klay Thompson's game and really break it down. His legs, when I say the trust in his legs, is because the buckets he makes look easy. They're not easy. He's constantly running off screens, navigating his way through the defense. Defenders are trying to bump him to get to his spots, to take those shots and score those shots at a ridiculous speed, might I add. Now, he plays some time in the G League. He's been practicing with his squad, but none of these things can replicate game-like situations because none of your teammates are going to bump you as hard as an opponent is going to bump you when you're trying to get to your spot because none of your teammates are trying to hurt you. I'm not saying the opponent is. The opponent's just trying to win the game. So that's what I'm looking for is how much does he trust in his landing? You know, how much does he trust if he attacks the paint, tries to take a layup or a dunk, how much does he trust the landing on his legs? And then defensively is the biggest area of concern for me. Can he get back to being the guy who takes on the primary assignment every night in Golden State? Now, I've been reading this book about the Golden State Warriors. It's called The Victory Machine by Ethan Sherwood Strauss. It's a fantastic book. I'm about halfway through or just a little bit more. And if you didn't know, I have started the world's first, I believe, virtual basketball book club, where every week this year, we will be reading a different basketball book and then coming together on a Monday on Twitter in a Spaces thing. It's like a virtual room. We're all going to be in there to discuss the book. So that's just a little heads up for you. If you haven't got this book for this week, next week, we're reading Kevin Garnett's book, The A to Z by KG. Get that so you can read it before the following Monday where we meet up to discuss that. I'll be also dropping a video on Monday reviewing the book. And I've just been speaking with the author. He might be coming on to drop a few gems for us as well about his journey writing a book from the inside of the Warriors organization. But I say that to say this. I've just read a little chapter about Klay Thompson there. And there was a big focus on Klay Thompson's character. They talk about Klay Thompson, and he is a man that's not like a lot of other star players. You won't catch him in the club. You won't catch him turning up. Klay Thompson is about, he dates some women. It's natural, everyone does. He's about two things other than that. Number one is his dog, Rocco, and number two is playing basketball. He has a laser focus. Let me just read this to you real quick, okay, before we get into the rest of it. They say here, Klay Thompson would be the perfect army sniper because of the way that he can just lock in and do whatever the coach requests. When the coach wants him to guard Tony Parker, for example, force him left and go under on screens, he does exactly that. He is the ultimate professional. He can focus in on the game and have no distractions whatsoever. And then, you know, he doesn't make excuses. He always talks about a quote that Bob Myers once gave me. He said, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and don't blame others. Well, how come everyone's doing what Bob's doing now? Blaming each other. So listen, Klay Thompson, there's just a little note in here. Former Warriors coach Luke Walton once quipped that in Memphis, Klay loved a particular breakfast omelet. Every step out of a shoot around, he's just thinking omelet, omelet, omelet. This is a man so focused, he's thinking about a damn breakfast omelet and nothing else whilst draining more threes than you've ever made in your life. So to see him back on the court is a blessing. Whatever he does on the court is just the added bonus. I'm just excited to get this guy healthy and see what he can do. And he only needs to really add anywhere between 10 to 15 points for this Warriors team, I think, to take them to another level. They're adding in 10, 15 points. Let Jordan Poole be that sixth man and come in and play a nice scoring role. Let Steph Curry keep being Steph Curry. Draymond Green is going to find him easy looks. And I'm excited for that.